we play this. The game was poo-poo.
I've gotta say, it's good to be back, even if I didn't think I'd be back here so soon. When I said no more weird Russian games for at least a year, I meant it. The thing is, for one, I didn't expect them to release Pathologic 2 so soon, and two, I didn't think they'd contact me that very day offering me a copy of the game for feedback. So, here we are. Let me start by answering the most common questions I've seen. Is Pathologic 2 a remake of 1? Yes. Is it an actual sequel to 1? Yes. Do you need to play 1 to understand 2? No. See, the game starts at the end of Pathologic 2, or maybe the end of Pathologic 1, it doesn't really matter. Essentially, you start the game having lost it, and you're given a chance to restart. Kids are just playing hopscotch in a war zone, and going to barbecues. You get the idea. So how is it a sequel? Well, the first game is referenced from time to time, though it's always going to be subtle and usually up for interpretation. It's typically not story elements because, like I said, this is also a remake, but more meta-commentary on how the first game turned out. This is more like a film remake than a game remake. The main idea and framework, yeah, that's usually the same. A person might share the same name, but they're a completely different character now. Some huge plot elements could be reworked or torn out or added in, it's all up in the air. Pathologic 2 does all of these things, but still acknowledges that the plot of the first game still happened. It may even challenge you on which you prefer, though the story isn't that much different than 1. Don't worry, they still have all the trash cans everywhere. This dual nature of the game does make it tricky to talk about, so I'll talk about it as a sequel and a remake, which is going to get messy, but it's okay, we're here together. You know, because taking on one fever dream game by itself was just too easy. So here we go again. The game starts you off on a train and with a new friend. The kind of friend who emerges from a coffin and then wants to tell you a secret. Just like in middle school. This begins one of the most surreal tutorials I've played in a game. You're learning how to drink water and people are turning into mimes. Then all of a sudden you're in Junji Ito's Mongolian Thunderdome, and then you learn how to trade by exchanging hearts. This is a long tutorial sequence, but it is effective. Yeah, it's teaching you how to play, but it's also making the drop into the main game more cushioned. You're starting off in the land of visions and metaphors. It's disjointed, so arriving in the town feels like a relief from all of that. At least for now. There'll be a lot more to learn, but it's a great introduction. You know, it tells you what the buttons do. Unlike 1, that just had these two guys giving you a huge information dump. They say so much at once that you can easily miss out on essential info. This is probably why a lot of players didn't know they could receive mail. It would all be cryptic unless you looked in the controls. You might think it's odd to focus on the tutorial. Well, it represents the biggest change from 1 to 2. See, the first game wasn't just frustrating from the walking, even though that was a big part of it. It was the fact that you were frequently so aimless when playing it. You had all these characters to babysit, you'd check on them, and usually they'd be fine, but sometimes they'd be in trouble. And you did this by walking across town and then you'd stare at them in the face. The difficulty from the first game did not come from hard survival mechanics. It was really easy to farm bandits and have lots of supplies forever. The challenge came from constantly walking, wondering if you're wasting your time doing it, along with mundane nightmare missions like this one. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but this is a big change. Pathologic 2 teaches you...
very interesting. Perozalium... level like a retard level.